Hello and welcome to Indus News, live from Islamabad. I am Muneeb Hamid with the news of this hour. Let's begin with the top stories first. The Taliban have denied a UN report that they are conducting a door-to-door search to find Afghans who worked for foreign forces. Spokesperson Suhail Shaheen says no one is under prosecution as the Taliban have granted a general amnesty and are focused on the future. Earlier, President Joe Biden said the US is on pace to meet the 31st August deadline for evacuations from Afghanistan. Meanwhile, the World Bank has halted financial support to Afghanistan amid worries about the fate of women under the Taliban rule. A US media report has suggested that Israel is allowing Jews to conduct prayers at Al-Aqsa Mosque compound. The move has stoked fears of shifting the revered site status quo. Meanwhile, the Israeli warplanes have again bombed several sites in the Gaza Strip. Somalia's army says it has killed at least 90 Al-Shabaab terrorists in an airstrike in the central province of Galmudug. In a tweet, the army said the militants attempted to attack Amara town and suffered huge losses. Al-Shabaab claimed it has recaptured the strategic town, but the military did not confirm that. In Colombia, at least 12 people have been killed after an explosion in a mine in the central Boyacá province. Local officials say the underground shaft exploded as a result of a methane gas buildup. Brazil has registered nearly 900 daily deaths from COVID-19 and close to 31,000 new cases. In Pakistan, the virus claimed 141 lives and infected more than 4,000 people overnight. Globally, the fatalities toll is over 4.4 million, while the caseload has exceeded 213 million. Well, these were the top stories. News in detail after a short break. Stay with us. Welcome back. Now let's have the news in detail. We'll start from Afghanistan, where the Taliban have denied a United Nations report that they are conducting a door-to-door search to find Afghans who worked for foreign forces. Spokesperson Suhail Shaheen says no one is under prosecution. Details in this report. The fluid situation in Afghanistan has raised many concerns among the international community. A report by United Nations consultants said the Taliban are threatening to kill or arrest family members of the people who do not want to give themselves up. But rejecting the assessment, Shaheen tweeted, the Taliban have granted a general amnesty and are focused on the future. Meanwhile, President Joe Biden said the US is on pace to meet the 31st August deadline for evacuations from Afghanistan. Biden said the airlift has to finish soon because of an increasing threat from the Islamic State Khorasan group. While British Prime Minister Boris Johnson said the G7 agreed the Taliban must allow safe passage to Afghans after the deadline. Earlier at a press conference, the Taliban spokesperson said the group will oppose any extension to the deadline. Moreover, the World Bank has halted financial support to Afghanistan amid worries about the fate of women under Taliban rule. Now, Russia says it will not let its armed forces be drawn into an all-against-all conflict in Afghanistan. President Vladimir Putin made the remarks while addressing a Congress of the ruling party in Moscow. Putin said Russia had learned its lessons from participating in the previous Afghan war. He said Moscow is closely observing the situation in Afghanistan and is also actively cooperating with its allies. He also criticized the United States and its allies for leaving Afghanistan in disorder that had raised potential threats for Russia. Putin noted the militias residing in the war-torn country might use the chaotic situation to try to expand into the neighboring states. Now, Pakistan's Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi has arrived in Tajikistan to discuss the situation in Afghanistan. He will meet with his Tajik counterparts, Sirajuddin Muhyiddin and President Emomali Rahman today. The two sides will also discuss ways to promote bilateral cooperation. Qureshi will also visit Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan and Iran on the special directions of Prime Minister Imran Khan. The consultations aim to adopt a joint strategy to tackle the challenges faced by the region amid Afghanistan's crisis. Now, a US media report has suggested that Israel is allowing Jews to conduct prayers at the Al-Aqsa Mosque compound. The move has stoked fears of shifting the status quo of the revered site. The Israeli government has long forbidden Jews to pray on the Temple Mount. Meanwhile, Israeli warplanes have again bombed several areas in the Gaza Strip. Earlier, a 15-year-old Palestinian boy was killed as Israeli forces stormed a refugee camp near Nablus. Moving on now, Somalia's army says it has killed at least 90 Al-Shabaab terrorists in an airstrike in the central province of Galmudug. In a tweet, the army said the militants attempted to attack Amara town and suffered huge losses. Witnesses said terrorists stormed a military base in Amara. Al-Shabaab claimed it has recaptured the strategic town, but the military did not confirm that. The group added that it seized 14 cars and 10 gun-mounted pickup trucks. Amara lies on the route to the coastal town of Radhere, which is another Al-Shabaab stronghold. Meanwhile, in Colombia, at least 12 people have been killed after an explosion in a mine in the central Boyacá province. Local officials say the underground shaft exploded as a result of a methane gas buildup. Rescuers are working to retrieve the bodies of the deceased. However, the collapse at the mine shaft is complicating efforts.
Unfortunately, it appears that they have lost their lives in this fatal accident. They still need to be located. The conditions in the mine where they are at this time, it's about 500 meters below the surface. As a result of the explosion, there was a collapse, according to reports I have received. The retrieval process for the bodies has been lengthy.
Well, now around 171 people were killed in mining incidents in Colombia in 2020 alone. Now, moving on, Pakistan has strongly condemned the demolition of an ancient mosque by authorities in India's Haryana state. Foreign Office spokesperson Asim Iftikhar said the Hindutva-driven BJP government is targeting Muslims and their places of worship. In a statement, Iftikhar said the attacks on religious places are an indelible blot on the so-called largest democracy. Recalling a controversial judgment on the Babri Masjid, Iftikhar said the Indian judiciary is also culpable in acquitting the criminals. He called on the world community to hold India accountable for systemic rights violations of minorities, particularly Muslims. Now, Pakistan has registered 141 deaths from COVID-19 overnight, the highest daily toll in nearly 4 months. The Health Ministry says the death count has reached 25,220. It said almost 4,200 people tested positive for the virus overnight. The ministry said the positivity rate of overnight infections came at 6.83%. The caseload has now crossed 1,135,000, while over 1 million have been recovered. Pakistan has administered over 47.8 million vaccine doses so far. Brazil has registered nearly 900 daily deaths from COVID-19 and close to 31,000 new cases. Globally, the fatality toll is over 4.4 million, while the caseload has exceeded 213 million. More details about the pandemic in this report. The deadliest strains of COVID-19, inequities in global vaccinations and ever-stirring political controversies have made the end to the coronavirus pandemic further from the side. A study shows that Pfizer and Moderna vaccines' effectiveness dropped from 91% to 66% after the Delta variant became dominant. In Europe, Swiss authorities said the country is being hit by a fourth wave with a very worrying rise in infections. Greece has ended free testing for unvaccinated people to encourage them to get inoculated and head off any renewed spike in Delta cases. In the US, top infectious disease expert Dr. Anthony Fauci said the COVID-19 can be controlled by early next year if vaccinations ramp up. This comes as cases, deaths, and hospitalizations are rising in the US week after week.
Our 7-day average is about 137,000 cases per day. This represents an increase of nearly 12% from the prior 7-day average. The 7-day average of hospital admissions is about 11,000 per day, similar to the previous 7-day period. And 7-day average of daily deaths have also increased to 739 per day, an increase of 23% from the previous 7-day period.
In Australia, authorities said Sydney's COVID-19 cases rose to a new daily record, putting parts of the city's health system under severe pressure. Japan is also set to expand a state of emergency to 8 more prefectures, taking the total to 21 as a surge in infections overwhelms its hospitals. Meanwhile, China has urged the US to invite the World Health Organization experts to investigate the origins as soon as possible.
中方已经2次邀请
We have invited WHO experts to China twice for origins research. Together with their Chinese colleagues, they have compiled an authoritative joint report. We urge the US to stop the clumsy trick of shifting blames to smear China, disclose and test data of early cases at home as soon as possible, and invite WHO experts to conduct origins research in the US as to give the international community and the American people an explanation based on science and justice.
The World Health Organization said COVID-19 in India may be entering some kind of stage where there is a low or moderate level of transmission going on. Saudi Arabia has approved Sinovac and Sinopharm vaccines and lifted a direct entry ban on expats from 20 countries. Now moving on, Algeria has severed its diplomatic relations with the neighboring kingdom of Morocco. Foreign Minister Hamdan Lamamara said Rabat has never stopped its hostile actions against Algiers. He said the cutting of diplomatic relations has come into effect, but that the consulates in each country will remain open. At a news conference, Lamamara accused Morocco of using Pegasus spyware against its officials. He said Rabat supported a separatist group and failed in bilateral commitments, including on the Western Sahara issue. Meanwhile, Morocco expressed its regret over the unilateral decision taken by Algeria. Morocco's foreign ministry said it rejects the false and ridiculous excuses announced by Algeria. Morocco and Algeria have had strained relations for decades, mainly over the issue of Western Sahara. More news coming up in this news bulletin after a short break. Stay with us. Welcome back. Now, in the U.S., the Caldo fire in Northern California continues to grow as the drought-stricken grasslands provide a potent fuel bed for its ignition. Authorities fear it might threaten the popular Lake Tahoe area. The blaze has been burning for 10 days now and has eaten up over 117,000 acres. It has also destroyed at least 455 homes, 11 businesses, and 166 minor structures. Officials say the fire has only been 9% contained yet, despite a massive effort from the firefighters. They have declared it as the #1 priority in the country for fire resources. Now, Rolling Stones drummer Charlie Watts has died at the age of 80. His publicist said he passed away in a London hospital without mentioning the cause of the death. Watts was respected worldwide for his muscular and swinging style of drumming. The jazz enthusiast had been a member of the renowned English rock band Rolling Stones since January 1963. Watts played the drums on all of the group's 30 albums and on every tour. The news of his death comes 3 weeks after he pulled out of the band's upcoming US tour for health reasons. Now, Asian stock markets are trading mixed after Wall Street hit a new high. Investors look ahead to a Federal Reserve gathering for an update on US stimulus. Stocks in mainland China added over 0.5%. Australia's ASX 200 advanced more than 0.25%. Sales Kospi gained nearly 0.25% as well. Shares in Hong Kong dipped almost 0.5%. Japan's Nikkei 225 edged lower marginally. And with that, we come to the end of this news bulletin. For the latest updates, you can follow us on social media at Indus.News.